Welcome to Ren Behind the Practice. I'm Sophie Campisi. I'm a holistic business strategist, and I spend a lot of my time in conversation with practitioners, coaches, and healers about the behind the scenes of their businesses. What I started noticing is that some of the most honest, important conversations about building a practice were happening quietly, one on one, behind the scenes, and often in isolation. Most practitioners are incredibly skilled at the work they do with their clients, but very few of us were ever taught or trained in how to build a successful startup business. And suddenly we've been left to figure it out on our own. This podcast exists to bring those conversations forward, the dreams, the uncertainty, the highs and lows, the recalibrations, and the messy middle. My hope is that by normalizing these conversations, we can soften the stigma, feel less alone, and start closing the gaps together. Today's guest is Ellie Hyvonen. Ellie is a life and health coach supporting women who look fine on paper but feel exhausted and disconnected inside. Her focus is on helping women target where energy is being drained, reconnect with their body's emotional and physical cues, and create sustainable habits around nourishment and movement that lead to greatest productivity. Her coaching is all about identity change at the level of habit change, and all without diets or gyms. Ellie, it's so great to have you here. Thank you so much for showing up and having this conversation with me.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Before we look behind the scenes today, can you share with us a little bit more about the work that you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you mentioned, I work with women. I often am with very driven, perfectionistic women, as that was my story and part of who I am. And it is often the woman who is trying to be fully present for her family and for others, and also fully present in her work. And it's that balance of being so driven by your career and yet also told by the world, as a lot of women are, you can be fully present at home as well and do it all. And the truth is that that belief really does make it so we can't do any one thing well, but we get just thinned out. We're stuck in stress mode. We're always trying to hold everyone together. We have this constant pressure to show up for everyone else. And so I really help women to target where are those areas that you are falling into that expectation mindset, that perfectionistic mindset. And we look at those basic habits around nourishment, our nervous system, simple movement habits, and just being aligned, making our decisions align with our beliefs, because it's something that a lot of us struggle with. And that is often something that's unsaid. It's just in theory.
How long have you been doing this type of work in this way?
In this way, in a very professional business way and as a certified coach way, for 2 years, I've been in this journey. So I'm very young in the process of growing my business. I was certified 2 years ago through the Health Coach Institute as a life and health coach. Then I began going into the business world and starting to build my business, which has been a whole journey. And so now I do a lot of speaking events and webinars, as well as my own one on one coaching, my 90-day transformation processes, different packages within that. But in the long run, it's really only been 2 years of being a coach, although I've had a lot of experience working with women in sticky situations and hard balances of life.
The clients, the connection, the community that you have now or in the past 2 years for your work and for your business, where's the main way that you've connected with them or that you do connect with people or that you're trying to connect with people?
Trying to is through social media for sure, through local marketing, quite literally down to the shops and stores in my own hometown and surrounding towns. Facebook groups is the media way, and Instagram. That's been really hard. The social media world has been very hard. And it's been something that, although I felt prepared in a lot of the coaching and being certified in the coaching side, the business side and the marketing side, actually building your clientele, is a whole nother world that they do not say is as hard as it is. And I felt like I needed at least a part of a business degree or a marketing degree to learn these worlds, especially since I didn't have social media really beforehand. So learning how to craft emails that actually nurture your audience, to make posts that actually grab people's attention and doesn't look like everything else, to offer something that's unique and not ChatGPT and generic, right? So that's been a hard world to figure out through media and through how many mediums to be advertising on and how to do that well. And then the other way that I think I have found success, which is interesting, quite honestly, has been mostly through word of mouth and referrals. Although I've tried to set up referral relationships and programs, that hasn't happened officially yet, like through a chiropractor's office or through a particular business that is regularly sending me clients. I don't have that kind of a relationship yet. I would love to, but I don't. But I do have clients that have been through word of mouth, through sharing what I do. I've had definitely discovery calls through a lot of my speaking events, going out and speaking and being there physically, just showing up.
You are early on and still in a place that some people 5, 7, 8, 10 years are still in the same phase of. So I want to
Mm,
acknowledge you for that because a lot of what you're saying that you are, how you're approaching it, it is the right thing, and one of the ways that I teach people around business building is approach everything like a hypothesis until it's validated. So you go about it with curiosity, with an
mm,
open mind, think about these things. I think too often because we aren't trained, I think, and we don't have the expertise, but also in the distinction that we're actually startup founders and we're not small business owners, like we can't actually just start our businesses overnight and then like get
right.
clients right away because we're not a gas station, we're not an ice cream shop, we're not a dry cleaners. We have way more in common with a startup founder, a tech startup founder, than we do with that small business owner. But most people are treating us the opposite way around and they're advising us,
Mm,
or we're getting advice or input, or we've been employees before and we've been in that setting. And so a lot of this is just mixed up. But everything that you're saying, part of what I was getting from that is that you are approaching it in I would say like the right way. And it is about just finding what starts working. So you try different things,
yeah.
but having that mindset or coming from the angle of it's all a hypothesis, right? It's all like, hey, this is an idea that I have. This might be a good way
Mhm,
to find clients. Let me try it and see and approaching it like that. So I just want to like add that in there, as you're sharing that because
mm,
you said a few things and they're all great ideas and keep seeking those areas out and approaching it as a hypothesis and like, because you're not doing anything wrong right now. Like you are in the startup phase, you are in the search phase,
mm,
you are in hypothesis phase, curiosity phase, seeking to nail your business foundations, but it does take time. And,
yeah.
me just reminding you that you're not doing anything wrong. Nothing's wrong. It is just about finding what
Mm,
works.
yeah. Finding what works. I really appreciate that, Sophie. That's really encouraging because we are presented with so many options and we try them all, I think. Or you try one for a very little bit of time and then you don't see a result and you're immediately upset. And I think part of that is the way that our minds are conditioned right now with social media and with technology, that everything has to be a quick fix and quick gratification. And that's not how it works with building a business. You have to be okay. It's hard for me because I'm such a perfectionist and goal seeker. You have to be okay with the process. You have to be okay with failing for so long in a good direction. You're failing forward because you're learning. And that's good. That's what's going to make it later. And you find what doesn't work. Referrals didn't work. Okay, let's try Facebook. Facebook didn't work. Okay, let's try speaking. Speaking didn't work. Okay, let's try interviews. Let's try giveaway. Let's try collaborating. And there's 9 ways to do that right. And there's 9 ways to do it wrong. So find which one works for you, right?
Totally. There is absolutely not a one size fits all. And, going to a point about the perfectionist in you. The hardest part of entrepreneurship for me and the startup process was that I will take the action, I'll do the work, I will sit at my desk every day, but I never knew if what I was doing was the right thing to do. I never knew if the
Hmm.
action I was taking was the thing that was going to move the needle. And that is what was driving my air quotes perfectionist high achiever self. It was just like I was
Hmm.
frustrated because it's like I will do the work. That's not the problem, but I don't know if this is the right thing to do. And I was so exhausted from not knowing if the action I was taking was actually going to move the needle or was the right thing to do. That's what started driving me mad. And that's part of what drove me into studying and discovering everything that I did that has me now, you know, be an expert in startup because that was driving me absolutely insane.
Right. Absolutely. You never knowing because you don't feel like you're trained in the right thing or like, am I doing it like everybody else? Is this how it's gonna work? It's so true. It's a hard place to be.
Yeah. Or
Starting.
like, is this a waste of my time? Like, is this a waste of my time, my energy, my resources, money? Like, is this so many people saying business advice? But really, I started questioning, like, are they able to actually diagnose where my problem is? Like, no one was ever really saying, this is what your problem is. Everyone's just like, try this. And that was just like, I just felt like I was on a hamster wheel. I was like, well, try this. I'd hire a business coach, I'd do a course and people like, oh, try this. But really, it was like, no one was actually diagnosing where the problem was.
Yeah.
Everyone's just telling me, try this, try this, try this. And I was like, okay, I can, I will. But like, is that the right thing? Because, it's like someone used this metaphor recently. I think it was someone on one of these interviews, and I don't remember now. It's like bringing your car in to the shop and just because it's not working, just being like, okay, just do everything. It's like, no, what's the
Yeah.
problem first? Like,
What is the problem?
what is the
Yeah.
problem? I want to understand that so that I know that I'm not just getting a whole workup on my car because there's one problem.
Mm.
It's going to take time, money, resources, and energy. I want to know first what is the problem and then,
Mhm.
how to fix it. So, yeah, I mean, obviously that's the thing that was driving me so nuts eventually.
Mm.
Like I was in that mode for so many years, 5, 7, 8 years.
Yeah.
And that is where I was like, this is just, yeah, it's driving me nuts because I'm going to keep going. But like, is this the right things to be doing?
Mhm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
When you look ahead to the next 6 to 12 months, what goals do you have for your work and for your business?
Great question. I try to have a goal for each month. This is something I've been learning from also business podcasts and things. Have a goal and then have some systems to carry it out. So I'm trying to do that well, and it's definitely been hard. There's been a few months more that I've been doing this better than others. But for right now, as I've just come out of March and I'm into April. So, March, I was trying to get eyeballs on my content and I was trying to get into the podcast world, trying to get into the summit world, trying to do more in person workshops, and really noting I've got 2 a month or I've got 5 conversations. Like being number oriented was something I'm trying to do more, collaborating more. So now, as I'm going into April, or really halfway through April. My next big thing is a virtual immersion program. I'm doing a collaboration with another coach. So, working on marketing that well. It's going to start in May, but we're marketing now. And that's kind of my big focus coming into May, as well as a couple other speaking events. And then on a very small level, I would love to secure 2 clients for the summer. I would just love to have even 2 more. I'm not thinking huge numbers. I'm not thinking 50 conversations a day right now, but keeping consistent with what I am, sending out the emails I am every week, posting the things I'm going to post every week. But for right now, just getting that May virtual program launched, whether it's one person or 10, great, launch it, see where we failed, see how we can do it differently, keep that collaboration. So that's one thing. And then the other thing would be through more word of mouth, through this program, Lord willing, that I would be able to secure 2 more clients for the summer.
You mentioned a couple of things already. You're doing the collaboration, potentially the action you're already taking. What else do you think that you need to do to get to those 2 clients? Let's say 2 clients, 3 clients, or 4 clients, your next 5 clients over the next 6 months. What do you think that you need to do to get there? Or do you feel like you're guessing?
I feel like I'm guessing for sure. I'm thinking if I could launch this May program well, maybe there could be 1 or 2 clients out of that. I'm thinking of a couple of speaking opportunities I have coming up in May. Maybe there could be a couple discovery calls from that. I'm thinking about a couple of my clients recently, or a couple of people recently said, I'm seeing what you're sending out. I was like, oh, okay. So people are seeing. So keep nurturing. A recent new thing I've learned and thought about was with a blog and coming up with, I just listened to an amazing podcast about this, a business podcast. If I could come up with just 12 of my key, unique areas that I would write about and repurpose that every year with all my posts, repurpose that, send that out in email form, in media form, in video form, which is catching people's eyes more. So I'm thinking about that. Like, what if I did just choose 12 of my big topics all around what I do, around energy, around balance, around living a double life for my mom audience, which is my key audience, that busy mom work world, and finding places to implement that through specific Facebook groups, through my website, putting that out there, really publishing that. And it would at least help me solidify what I do work with clients on, but it'd give me something to always recycle. So I'm batching and I'm not just coming up with random things to post every month and week. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that all summer. I want to be clear, my topics, my pillars, and have that easier to work with.
For sure. It's so overwhelming, and especially in the early phases before we have a much better idea of exactly who our clients are. And this is something that's not talked about a lot. A lot of people say, target market and find your niche target. But what's not talked about nearly enough is that the process usually actually goes by you define a target market, and there are going to be some data points that define that. But when it really starts to get really clear in practice, it'll usually be defined by problems, a problem
Yes.
or a couple of problems.
Yes.
Um,
When you're coaching that person,
when you are
when
have
you're
when you're
doing it,
doing
and
it, when
then
you're
you
doing the
realize what
work.
people's problems
Exactly.
are and you
Exactly.
can narrow it down.
You're
Yeah.
on the court, you're having the conversation. So usually once we're really nailing our target market, it's actually usually defined by common problems.
Yes.
All that to say, once we get further along, it's way easier. We have a lot more market validation. We have problem validation. We have conversations. This is a big missing piece that people aren't talking about. Again, when people are treating us like small businesses and not startups, people aren't teaching
Mm,
people how to go through the startup process and how to get really, really good data, not by like sitting on the computer and doing research, but having conversations with people, asking them the right questions to get those answers. But going back to what you said about the content and how do we choose what we put out and how can we even manage that flow, that
mm,
workflow? I'm not even sure if it's possible. Even when you get there, that's a whole other conversation because it's so
yeah.
much work to do, but it's especially difficult at the beginning when we don't have a lot of data back.
You're right. There's not a lot of past history experience yet. So you're just building it. It's just the place we're in. We got to find those first few people and
It's
then
hard.
figure out those first problems. And somehow you get into a little pocket and then people start reaching out to you and they
Yeah.
hear something and you're like, ah, I'm going somewhere.
Yeah.
Someone heard something that was right.
And it
Right?
can, yeah, and it can help, bring down some of that overwhelm. And like, if I go quickly jump into my expert hat really quick for this conversation, my simple feedback for you would be don't stress too much about perfecting those things until you have much more data, because you will drive
Mm,
yourself crazy because there's only so much you can do at this point. You're so good at what you do. You have a lot of experience, but until you can really nail these business foundations, don't kill yourself on
yeah.
perfecting this type of stuff because it's not possible until you have more data and more feedback. You won't be able to nail it. So just like approach it by, I know this is going to be maybe hard, um, but just good enough.
Yeah.
Just good
Yeah.
enough for now until you nail it. Because then once you nail it, again, like a lot of that overwhelm comes from we just don't have enough data yet. So it's like we want to do a
Right.
great job at it, but we just can't because we don't have enough data yet. So yeah, just don't kill yourself over it too much yet. Do good enough to nurture, but really at the end of the day, what matters more is you having real conversations with real people that you think are in your target market more than perfecting
Mm,
a content flow at this point.
yeah. So, what are those areas that you might find that target audience going to those places? and having real conversations. That is so helpful. And probably the biggest thing I would take away from this conversation. Don't forget your target. Don't stress too much about perfecting.
Well, it's just like, a lot of the stuff that we hear from these podcasts and all this stuff. Again, people are well-meaning. People aren't doing this wrong. It's just like we're missing a lot of the distinctions on like where we are in the business building process.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff we hear on podcasts are actually growth strategies that only will work once we nail our target market, our product market fit. Like once we nail our business foundations, then we can start employing growth strategies and growth tactics, and then they'll work. But if we're trying a lot of tactics and it's not working, it's not because the tactics are wrong or bad. It's actually usually because we haven't nailed our startup phase yet. And so one of the things, again, that's lacking from most of these conversations is that if you haven't nailed who your people are, their urgent pants on fire pain point, their dream
Right.
outcome, how to talk to them about it, it's too soon to try to grow. You'll just waste time, money, resources, and energy. So the most important thing you can do in the startup phase is have real
Yeah.
conversations with real people. Find
Yeah.
how to find them.
Yeah.
Find
Okay.
how to connect with them. If it's Facebook, whatever it is, continue to approach that step. Like you said, it's part of why I ask people, how are you connecting? Because it's just an interesting thing for me to hear because everyone has different target markets. So there's not a one size fits all. I'm just curious, like, what are people trying? How are they connecting? It is the most important thing you could possibly do for business sustainability, success, financial success, all of the things for long-term sustainability and longevity in business. The most important thing of anything,
Yeah.
can you find your people in abundance and can you have
Yeah.
real conversations with them? And people aren't talking about that, but that's
Yeah.
actually super, super important.
It's not just going to be a Facebook post and everybody sees it and someone will just want to go hop onto a call with you and you have to meet an exact problem, tailor their problem to when they're like, oh, that's exactly my problem. But furthermore, of an exact conversation with someone who said something and you respond to their question on the chat or something like that, or going and speaking at specific places where there are those moms that have this situation with their kids, or that's like very insightful for me to think about right now. That's really good.
Exactly. And
So
how
much.
you know what those things are, they tell you. We have to talk to them. You have to talk to them and let them tell you. And this is, again, something that people aren't talking about. So this
Yes.
isn't something you can figure out on your own. You have enough expertise and knowledge already. You don't
Mm,
need to do more on that front. And also, it's not something you can figure out on your own. That's the magic of real connection, connecting deeply with
mm,
people in real time, having real conversations, approaching them the right way. But how do you know what those things are that you just talked about? They tell you. They tell you what those things are. And then it's our job as the experts to figure out how to match that with, a solution. That's, all like startup business building. But
yeah. Yeah.
um, it's taking us a lot of the collective and business advice that's out there, again, is lacking distinction. So it can get us really confused, but it's also a lot of it is taking us further from the point of all of it and also what works
Mm,
the best, which
mm,
is like, don't forget to connect deeply with the people that you're
yes.
here to serve. And a lot of the stuff takes us more like, it takes us deeper into building in isolation, and we need to figure out all these things. We need to be on our computer and like da da da. And really, like, the most important thing you could do for any business is actually like figure out how to find your people and connect with them and have a lot of conversations with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for that. I needed that.
If you could wave a magic wand and have one thing solved or fixed for you in your building process, what would that be?
If I could fix one thing, it would be I wish that I could have better have better luck with my system. So being able to have those automated emails and like understanding that technology side of it, so that it's just easier when I have a podcast conversation that you have those immediate bios ready to go and those systems set up. So you're not busy working and wasting your time on that. I want the busy, repeatable tasks to be sizable and in a system.
Yeah, growing like some extra hands, extra brains. I mean, like, you're wearing so many hats.
Right?
Like, it's like it's insane. It's so hard. I often get overwhelmed in these conversations when I'm having conversations with people when we
Yes.
constantly come to the reality of like, we're wearing so many hats. Like, is it possible? I don't know. We're all collectively trying to figure that out, but like,
Yeah.
is it possible? It's like we're solopreneurs. Most of us, maybe we'll grow enough to hire a couple people, but like, what's the reality? So yeah, I totally hear that.
Right.
And the last question before we wrap up, what's the cost? What's the cost if you're not able to get your work where you want it to get to? What's the cost to you, to others, to the
Mm.
world?
The cost, I guess I would look back and I would say, oh, it didn't work. I tried. I wanted to start my own business. I wanted to do this because this is my story. I come out of this same struggle of living two worlds, of being promised that I can do it all and I can't. And I have that experience and then I have that education and then I have that joy and accountability and support that I can offer to other women who have walked out of that season or in that season. And I want to be able to bring that to people and to offer that system and that accountability that coaching brings. I also think that I'd look at it as a cost of time. All that time, you're not being paid regularly, and yet you put all those hours in. Why did you do that? And if it doesn't work, that would be 2 years, 3 years of your life, I guess a step of your life. Not everything, but it's still something.
Absolutely. Ellie, thank you so much for joining me today to have this conversation. And for those of you who are listening, if any part of this resonated, you're in the right place. Please reach out. I want to hear from you. And if you want to reach Ellie directly, the links to her website, Instagram, and a link to a free gift are in the show notes. Thank you again, Ellie, and to everyone else. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you for the next episode of Ren Behind the Practice.